So with Newspeak, Project Newspeak, let's recap. You got videos on the internet.
Videos.
You have live events, poetry slams, music events.
Well, with the poetry slam, because we mix the two together.
You mix it. And then you have sketch comedy shows.
Yeah.
So what makes Project Newspeak, what makes it so different?
I'd say
from all the other, Asian American kind of acting slash, producing groups out there.
I think the only thing I would say is similar is that we're all on the same wavelength. I mean, there is a movement going on amongst Asian American artists where we're trying to bridge into the mainstream media. But then when I think about things like East West Players or Lodestone,
OPM.
OPM, I look at them as primarily like live theater.
Okay.
I don't necessarily see them, although they do, but I don't necessarily see them as like, actively trying to bridge into the mainstream media.
Right.
I think they go about doing it by training new actors,
right,
or creating live showcases for the community. But we want to actively make those relationships with the industry executives. So for example, like, we're doing this live show for the community, but what people don't know that's happening behind the scenes is that our production staff are going to a lot of events and making connections with the producers and meeting with them to pitch the ideas for this show.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what made you decide to get into acting?
It's funny because when I was in high school, I saw like our high school theater and I thought they were complete dorks, complete losers, and I would never become anything like that, even though I was a complete nerd at that time. But I was going to become a doctor because my dad wanted me to be a doctor.
Okay.
And then he graduated from UCLA studying computer science. Like, you got to go to UCLA. But at that time, I was all like, oh, I don't want to be anything like my dad. Everything that he would do, I'd be opposite. So, he smoked cigarettes. I decided not to smoke.
Okay.
He wanted me to be a doctor, so I was like, forget it, I'm not going to be a doctor. He went to UCLA, so I was like, nah, I'm not going to go to UCLA. So I went to Berkeley.
Okay.
I studied psychology.
So you have some father-son issues going on there.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
Okay, sorry, we're not a therapy session.
Yeah.
But,
and then when I graduated, I ended up doing public service.
Okay.
I started working in politics, working for the Democratic Party. But then...
Was he a Republican, your father?
No.
So you have something in common? Come on.
He actually has no care whatsoever for politics.
All right.
And then,
there you go.
And then after the 2004 election, when Kerry lost to Bush, I was completely disenchanted with politics.
Okay.
And so I decided not to do it anymore. And I went back to what I wanted to do, which was during college I was doing theater.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a stab at acting, go all the way with it. And I've been doing it since 2004, 2005. And now I'm at a point where it's like no looking back.
Right.
I'm just going to go all the way with it. Yeah.
And just to kind of go back to your father, how does he feel about it now?
Oh, he has no idea what I'm doing with my life. He has no idea.
He thinks you're in medical school and operating table?
He knew about the politics.
Okay.
And he was okay with that. Like, at first, people were like, what are you doing? You're volunteering, you're being an intern. But then it wasn't until that people started seeing me on newspapers. They're like, oh, my son's doing something really good, Okay. And then at that point, after 2004, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. But he has no idea that I'm doing anything.
Wow. Well, maybe if he sees a show, he's going to be in for a big surprise.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. All
right, Eddie. Well, good luck with the show. And make sure to check out the website to find out more information on it. And thanks for joining us today.
Thanks. It's good to be with the Okie Dog. You got to check his stuff out all the time. He's blowing up. Okie Dog.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. And until next time, stay fresh.